All right. Hey, everyone. Zack with Magnetic back with another LinkedIn Live. I think this is our second one. And in this one, I'm excited for this one. So I've got Sloan. Jared and I used to work together, 6 or 7 years ago. Jared is at a company called Channel Mix. I'll let him give you the spiel on Channel Mix. It's a really cool company. But what we're going to talk about today is building a career in data. And the reason I have Jared on, like his career in data has kind of gone all over the place. And I don't it's easy to get into like the data space and say, well, I'm going to be an analyst. I'm going to be digging through data all day and building reports and doing analysis. And there are so many other paths you can take. And Jared's got experience doing that, but today he's doing some other cool stuff. And my background too has kind of gone all over the place. And I'm definitely not doing what I thought I'd do when I left college. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you guys are watching this live and you have questions, post it in the comments. And in theory, I should be able to see it. We can answer those questions here. But Jared, how about we start with just tell us, give us a little bit of background on Channel Mix, just so we know where you work and the kind of stuff you're dealing with. And then maybe just on your role, what are you doing there today and how'd you get there?
Yeah, I can do that. First off, thanks, man, for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like a celebrity being on your LinkedIn Live. Appreciate being on the second episode here. I hope it works out for you.
Absolutely.
Rolling the dice with me. All right, so thanks for that intro. So yes, I'm at Channel Mix. I am the Vice President of Product Development. I definitely didn't start as the Vice President of Product Development, and it's been a fun path that's weaved through a number of departments. Some of them didn't exist when I started at Channel Mix, and I got to be a part of building that. So what Channel Mix is, just to give everybody some context, is we specialize in, and it's evolved really. It's really evolved over the years as any kind of growing company should. But what we do is help make data and reporting easier for marketers and sales professionals. So rather than running this rat race of collecting, cleaning, analyzing, presenting, visualizing, predicting into the future, optimizing data, Channel Mix is really a full stack solution that's supposed to do all of those things and serve up solutions to our customers to help make marketing and sales decisions easier and really hopefully give time back, hopefully find insights in things that they weren't able to see using cool tools now. I mean, really machine learning, algorithms and data science are really the forefront of everything we're working on these days. So not only, of course, predict or telling what happened in the past with your sales and marketing, but also what's going to happen in the future. Where should I be spending my money? Those are the fun questions we get to ask now. So that's what I do. It's here, and product development really spans quite a few different respontsibilities in Channel Mix, and I could probably talk about it all day if you don't.
Well, how about let's do this, because I am at an advantage because I know a little bit about your background. Why don't we talk about? I remember when you first came to Channel Mix. Before that, you were analyzing stuff for the X Games or ESPN or something. Why don't we start there? Because that was more like I would say traditional analyst type role. And even your first couple years at Channel Mix were probably, I think you'd agree, somewhat traditional analytics work. Let's start there and then maybe talk about what you're doing today and how different they are.
Yep. So I started at a company called Image Impact. This is going in the way back machine.
Yep.
And what Image Impact did was really cool. It gave me a lot of cool experience. But what we did was basically measure TV broadcasts for television sponsorships. So think about the sponsorships that you see in the right field of Kauffman Stadium, the Royals, where the Royals play.
Yeah.
So it's a big State Farm sign out there. So of course that sponsorship is purchased and you get all the ad spots that go along with it for all the great national broadcasts that the Royals get on, sarcastically. But that's basically what you're buying. And then you get, as the add-ons, you get a lot of in-stadium placements that show up on TV. But those values don't often get highlighted. And in fact, they're shown a lot on television. So we had developed a software. This is kind of where my product development started as well. But we developed a product, a software that would basically analyze the television show or the broadcast, find the sponsorship, and we'd measure things. This is where the analyst comes in. We'd measure things like how long it was on the screen, how big it was on the screen, whether it was in competition with other brands on the screen for your attention.
Yep.
We'd run that through kind of it's really like an 18 grid matrix. You can picture like those variables that I just threw out. It's like a 9x9 square, but then they split into half based off of some other things. So it's like 18 different boxes that you could fall in. And then we gave it a score based on that. So an index score. And that all happened with the development of the software, which was fun. But then, just analyzing the broadcasts from day to day, it was actually an operations field that I was in. It wasn't even really an analyst because the software really did the analysis part, and it wasn't that hard of a math to do. Okay. But just understanding the nuts and the bolts of how that was working, I had to work with databases. That was my first exposure to really a fairly large production database and how it's used in an application on a website. All of those are extremely beneficial tools. But then there's the other part of like interpreting that data, like, hey, what's good and what's bad, and how do we compare that across industries and sporting events and what's a hot spot. So it was a different place but it bled into all of these other interests as far as database and architecture goes. And even now, like image recognition or labeling of images or this rich content that comes out of into data science projects, that it all started with this kind of small company of Image Impact just doing analysis on sporting events.
What'd you go to school for?
Music. I'm just kidding. So I loved music. I studied music for a long time, but then I eventually realized I didn't want to be a band teacher. And so I switched over to a business administration with marketing emphasis. And so, from there it was all, I was always interested in marketing and sponsorships. And so I did go out looking for that type of gig.
But you did not go to school and learn analytics.
No. So that thing didn't exist.
Right.
Until I was actually working with you at the time when like analytics programs started to really kind of catch fire and people were graduating out of their undergrads and saying, I have an analytics degree. And I studied SAS and I studied Tableau and, these different tools. That stuff just didn't happen, honestly.
So the reason I bring that up is this is not a rule, but the best analytics people I know, even the best like data science people, machine learning engineers I know, went to school for something really obscure. They got like my degree. I have a business degree too. I learned nothing about data in school. And I bring this up because I just had a conversation with someone who sort of has an established career in product management for a consumer packaged goods company. And she was trying to figure out like, how do I want to do this data stuff. How do I transition into it? And she was asking me about schools. And I told her, don't go to school. The advice I gave her was find a project in the company that you're in and just start doing it. And so you were at this company when you came to Channel Mix. Had you ever used Tableau before?
No. I think, just to put all the cards on the table, like you hired me. I don't know what you were thinking. Like, no, my choice. You were hiring me to be a marketing analyst, and I had never opened up the tool that you had asked me to. But that wasn't really a barrier to entry. I mean, it's not like there were Tableau developers like growing on the vines. At that point. But no, I had never used Tableau. I think I had installed Google Analytics a couple times. I understood how that data model worked, but I was super fresh and just starting to get into the marketing analytics, man. I don't know why you gave me a job.
That's another really important thing. I tell people this all the time. In the analytics space, it doesn't matter if you're like one of the top people or just a beginner. Every day you're doing stuff you don't know how to do. Like you are always doing things. If you're doing it right, you're always doing things you're not qualified for. And this is the same with developers, right? Web developers, software developers, they're always doing stuff that they have no clue what they're like, how they're going to do it when they actually get into it. And it's just like a skill set of being able to use Google, Stack Overflow,
GitHub.
Right. If you're a Tableau developer, Tableau's little thing that they have, or Power BI, or whatever your tool of choice is, you have to be okay with stepping into the unknown and like just putting your head down and working, because there is a solution to whatever problem you're working on. And likely someone has already dealt with it and it's out there somewhere. You don't need, I'm not saying school's a bad thing for analytics, but you don't need it.
Well, so there's the other spectrum of that, of people that have gone to school and they come out and they feel like very qualified to tackle the world, who'd probably, I'm going to speak for them, and even though I'm not qualified to. And there's a super popular, not to get too trendy with this, but there's super popular topic about quiet quitting going on. Like, hey, I'm going to only do the thing that you pay me to do. And unless you pay me more, I'm not going to go above and beyond. I'm not going to learn new skills. I'm only going to do what's in my description. And I respect that game, but it's just not something that I ever like dealt with. I was like, oh, we have access to that cool tool. Can I have a license? Can I play with it? And then I would just go learn it. And usually, which sounds super nerdy, by the way, I accept that. But now I don't know. I do see, I see the other side of the coin where it's like, no, I have this degree. I know how to program in R. I know statistics, and I need, even though they don't have a ton of experience in it, they want to be recognized for having that experience. And I don't know. It's just a completely different side of how I was kind of came up through the analytics process of like, well, I don't know that, I'm going to go learn it, and then it's on to the next thing, and really utilizing. As a small company, you kind of have access to probably more tools than you're supposed to, rather than a large company who has kind of a lot of barriers. So you have a lot of smart people around you at a large company, but you don't have access to all the data that you would need because there's red tape and permission and security. But at a small company, you kind of have access to a lot of tools, and you use the GitHubs and the Googles of the world to go kind of really put those tools into application.
So tell me this. Are you running a team today?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
So we have a BI department a BI department, a platform support, which is includes integrations. We have a software engineering, and then data science.
Okay. So I'm assuming you've had this conversation. What do you tell someone who's wanting to expand their career into like an analytics leadership role, where they're moving from like, hey, I've been a really good analyst. I love like whatever my flavor of data is. I love doing that, but I also want to manage people and lead a team. How does someone make that transition, and what do they need to be worried about?
So one, I make sure they understand what that means, because a lot of people that say that think that managing people comes with success or money. And so if you're motivated by money, good, you should be. Everybody should be motivated by money, because that's why, come to work, everybody makes money. Yeah. But I think the association becomes very money driven, and they're like, oh, in order to make more money, I need to manage people. And that's not necessarily the right critical thinking path there. So the first step is making sure what's motivating them, as far as like, well, why do you want to get to that step? Because oftentimes I do kind of, obviously I've been managing people basically in my entire career. So I size them up as far as like what I think their career path would be if I were drawing success for them. Yep. And I make sure that that I, understand their strong points, understand their weaknesses, understand their goals and aspirations. But if they are really good at managing people, they're very personable, they understand it. But I mean, there is some basic stuff that you can go through. Like you can ask your corporation or wherever you're working to just do some basic management training, some leadership training. I've gone through them, and honestly, I breeze through 60% of the content, but then there's this section where I'm like, that's a good point. And it's worth it. It's kind of worth it to go to those things, because you do find nuggets of things you don't know that are very, very appropriate or things you can apply to your day-to-day. So really just, I would say, find those courses, talk to people who have managed and have a lot of, anecdotes that they can share with you so that you can understand how to handle certain situations and manage it appropriately for a business setting as well.
Yeah. The only thing I would add is, and I'm sure you do this, but I have often asked someone to really think about what it means to manage people, because it does come with a lot of headache, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with that if you really like analytics and you really like plugging in and focusing for 3 hours at a time on a problem, that gets really hard to do when you've got 2 teams of people and all of the issues that come up with managing that team. I actually, personally, I do not like managing people. It's just a function of what you have to do when you get to, and most my teams in the last at least 4 years have all known this, but it's just a function of what you have to do as you get to different levels. But there are really great paths in data, machine learning, data science, analytics, whatever you want to call it, that do not require managing people. You can make a lot of money and you can have a very nice, healthy, long career without ever having to manage a single person.
Yeah. And so I 100% agree with everything you just said. And so I always try to put that in perspective, be like, look, being successful may just being really, really good at your craft.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that path. But I mean, for me in particular, I love working with people. I like managing people. There are obviously logistical things that I could live without, but
yeah,
overall, the problem solving, like when my team brings me a problem and I'm able to see it through a different angle and perspective, and then ask questions to help them get better or solve the problem in a way, that stuff fills me up. I like it. You gotta kind of know that about yourself going into it before you really dedicate your career to wanting to go down that path. Because honestly, you're right, 100%. You can be extremely successful by just being a senior X person in your qualified area.
That's awesome. Well, let's end. We're at 17 minutes. Let's end on this question because everybody asks this. Let's ask it in 2 scenarios. So the question is, what tool should I learn? Let's answer it. What tool should I learn as someone just getting started in analytics? Maybe I'm like a marketing person or a product management person or something, and I want to do this data stuff. What should I focus on first? Number one. Let's answer that one first before we go to the second one.
Yeah, there's no right answer for that. So I would answer, if you're at a small company, I've been at probably one large company and a bunch of small companies. And I've always had access to tools. And if I wanted to learn something, I just kind of go, I ask permission to get in there and I start reading and I start watching videos and I'm just self-motivated in that way. That's the way I like to learn. As far as a tool goes, I would summarize it by saying, use what's around you and what you can learn from. So if you're on an island trying to learn a tool, that's a little bit more difficult. So if you have somebody that's near you, like I sit right next to a really smart guy who knows a lot of things that I don't know, and I ask him a ton of questions. It's a good resource for me, and it is right around me, right? I use the tools that are right around me to get smarter and better at my career. And so that could be Google Analytics. It's a free platform. It's a free thing. Just go set it up and start learning, or watch a million videos on it. Or if you want to learn Python, just start developing a project, or ask, well, you said earlier, to get involved in a project that uses that programming language, because it's going to put it into practice right away. And it's going to put you in touch with people that are also collaborate with. So I guess I don't have I'm not going to answer that, because it's just use the tools that are around you and then, highlight
My
those.
advice is exactly the same. Again, I just had this conversation and my advice was just start on the problem and the tools will come to you. Everybody always asks, well, should I learn Tableau or Power BI, or should I get into Python or R? How much?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. How much Excel skill set do I need? And the answer is always, what's your problem? Because there are problems Tableau solves really well. And there are problems that you cannot solve in Tableau, but Python is your solution. And so that's actually my advice for the second half of this question as well, which is like, if I'm an established analyst, I don't know, let's say I'm a Tableau developer and I want to transition into being a full-blown data scientist. What do I learn next?
As of right now, today?
Yeah.
Data scientist, I feel like this whole term has gotten weird.
There is no definition.
I see data scientist job postings and then I read it and it's like a tablet. It's like a Power BI.
Yeah.
You need to know Power BI. I'm like, that's not a data scientist. That's a visual tool. So I don't know. I'll tell you that here at Channel Mix, we develop most of our tools in Python. It's extremely powerful. Commonly used for development in many applications, and tons of libraries that are extremely useful for not only data science practice purposes, but also just general data transformation libraries that we use all the time. But then understanding the root of it. So we've had a lot of machine learning. We've had machine learning engineers that we've called data scientists. We've had statisticians that we've called data scientists. We've had, and now, I'd say that the data scientist that we have on staff today is the closest thing to a data scientist, but they did come up through a mathematical background, coming from a statistics and actually a physics background. So you can really, that's an interesting, technically my lead data scientist right now came from a physics background. He's a doctorate in physics. That's not data marketing, data science. I mean, it used to be data science was defined on if you wrote code or not. And now it is so easy. It is so easy to build a forecasting model in Python based off of a tutorial on a website. Literally anyone can do it. So it's hard. Like that's why I say there is no definition of data scientist. Yeah. I mean, you can get really, really fluid with these terms that get thrown out. I mean, I try to be very direct about no, I need a machine learning engineer. And that would be that person that could come in. They can deploy a model and they could understand the terms that are being used to kind of tweak and fine tune that model.
Yeah.
But as far as the algorithm that's powering it, that's the statistician. I'm not really going to ask them to know that stuff. And so as you're going through this and want experience in that, it really depends on maybe some schooling that you have. I mean, I'm not going to claim to be a statistician as a market. I started as a marketing analyst. I'm not going to claim to be a statistician. I probably don't have the schooling for that.
Yeah.
But I definitely know the words. I know how to write the job description in the right way for the skill set that I need, which is honestly kind of lost, or it has been lost. I might be speaking too broadly, but
no, we expect one person to be able to do everything.
Yeah, there's so many tricks in your hat.
All right, we're at 23 minutes. Let's do this again. Let's schedule again, because we didn't even get into the whole product development stuff that you're doing today and how that relates to the analytics work you used to do. So let's schedule another one down the road and we'll dig into that specifically.
Yeah,
any other advice that you give to someone new that we haven't talked about already?
Let's see. I don't know. There's the other side of the coin that we talked about as far as what tools. And I said, and you said, use the things that are around you, use the resources that are available. There's also I think there's a lot to be said for just deciding what you want to do and go do it. I feel like I'm quoting a song there. It's like an Avid Brothers song, I think. Anyway, but decide what you do and go do it. If you want to learn statistics, then go. Yeah, you probably do need a higher education degree. You need to go sign up for something like that. But don't let your current job stand in the way of that. Just go do it and stop being scared. And so as we talk about this career development, it is very fluffy idea of you're not going to be handed anything.
Yep.
You got to work for it. And whether it is a hard task. And so there's the difference, but I talk a lot about the difference between these hard skills and soft skills. And so many things can be learned by just having so many hard skills can be learned and transferred by just having good soft skills and learning from people around you. But there's this whole set of people that want to just be taught in a classroom and environment. Yeah. And that's how they digest things. And I still think it's valuable. It's not how I process things, and I think it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Honestly, for what you get back, but I don't want to completely disregard it. So, hey, all the power to you. Certificates are out there for a lot of things. Go find them, find the structure that works for you, and just go do it and stop freaking getting in your own way.
Awesome, dude. Makes sense. All right, let's do this again. Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Talk to you later.